For the first time all day.
I had wings, pizza, and tortellini. And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. It is Wednesday, May 31st. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. 6-game MLB slate for tonight. We had a 7-game early slate that as of right now isn't going well for me, so I'm going to treat it like it's gone. But we've always got the night slate. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Names are underneath us. Adam, what's up?
Yeah, how's it going? I think your early slate's probably still going better than mine, but excited to get on to the night slate.
Currently winning $465. I don't know. We'll see. It should go up, considering I have so much of the Braves and Dodgers. Like by default, I would imagine it can like negate itself a little bit, but it's going to take a hell of a run to catch the combo of Indians and Angels at this point. Whoops. I used their dead name.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting like 15% back since I didn't actually enter lineups.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was just responding I'm still getting clobbered here, but I forgot that you whiffed on yours in typical fashion. Surprised you just don't have the nuts.
Yeah.
It happens so frequently. All right, are my lineups done generating? They are. So 6-game slate. Do we have any weather issues or anything tonight? Have you, by any chance, have you looked at that yet?
Nope. I mean, yes.
No, we don't have weather issues, or no?
Yes, I have looked. No, we don't have weather issues.
Okay, because that could have went either way. I would have assumed that you had not looked. I needed your stupid Orioles to do something real last night. Awful.
Yeah, started out good.
It did. Didn't finish.
My home run pick almost came through immediately. Henderson off the wall.
Great. Now Josh is canceled. Yeah, I wish he would have done a couple more of those off the walls. Yeah. Apologies, guys, for dead naming the Cleveland Guardians. It wasn't my intent in any way, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes it just slips out. You're not ready for it. It's just muscle memory. It's 35 years of that. That's all I've ever known. You want to talk about this slate?
Yeah, there's not much pitching to talk about, so it should be an entertaining one.
There's not much pitching, or there's all of the pitching based on the way that the ownership looks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in between. Well, call it like 6 in between 10 and 20. Another couple pulling sizable ownership that are actually talented. It's a weird one. So let's get it started. Josh, do I shop at Target? I do not. Should I? I don't go to Target. Do you go to Target?
I don't know the last time I physically shopped for anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, no. If they're Neil and I were talking this morning, somebody said something about whatever shirt Neil was wearing, and as far as like if I happen to see like cheap plain black t-shirts at Target, like sure, but
yeah, I don't.
Oh,
he's talking about Neil's shirt. Got it. Wasn't watching this morning.
I normally just go on Amazon and get a bunch of plain black t-shirts.
Yeah, it's either online or I happen to be somewhere and like any random store is in front of me. I don't have any real preference to anything.
Yeah, I think the last time I actually bought clothes in a store was probably like exactly a year ago when I was in LA with Jordan and Eric, and I had to go to H&M to buy pants before dinner.
Gotcha. I'll pop anytime that we're doing like, I don't know, once every 6 months or so, I'll pop into like Banana Republic and get a new button down or something.
Yeah, but like, even if I do that, I order it online.
There's one so close to me that it's easier for me to just go in and like see how shit looks. But 99% of the time it would be order a bunch online and then return it in the store if I have to.
Yeah, I don't even return it. I just don't wear it.
Oh, that's normally me. When I say return it in the store, I mean give it to my wife to return it.
Sure.
Yeah. Because otherwise, there are things in my closet right now on the top shelf where it was like, oh, this doesn't fit. Guess I got to keep it.
Right.
You're better off throwing it in the garbage instead of cluttering up my closet.
I'll either lose or gain 20 pounds at some point, and then I'll be able to wear the shirt.
Yeah, I wish I would have saved some of those shirts that were a little bit bigger because I've been putting on the LBs over the past month and a half. Blue Jays and Brewers. 5.5 run implied total for the Jays, 4.4 for the Brewers. Alek Manoah going for Toronto. Julio Teheran going for Milwaukee. I feel like we just talked about him, but I guess it's been 5 or 6 days now. 6,900 for Manoah, 7,400 for Julio Teheran. Why is Julio Teheran more expensive than Alek Manoah?
It's a good question. I don't have an answer for you.
Like, Manoah isn't as good as I wanted him to be. Certainly better than Julio Teheran right now. So let's talk about Manoah getting 17% ownership while Teheran up against Toronto gets precisely none.
Yeah, I mean, Manoah's been actively bad this year. It's not that he hasn't been great like you would like him to. He's been flat out terrible. 18% strikeout percentage, 15% walk percentage, 5.85 xFIP, 6.15 FIP, 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. The guy has been flat out terrible. He does have underlying talent. I mean, we've seen him do it at the major league level before, but it's been really bad this year. It becomes a really interesting spot in tournaments where both sides look good because Manoah is priced down to 6,900. So at some point, the salary is mitigating a lot of the risk factor. He's not priced to be a good pitcher at this point. He's only $6,900. You do have plenty of strikeouts in the Milwaukee lineup, relatively weak lineup in general. No Willy Adames, as usual, dealing with the concussion. So it's a pretty bad Milwaukee lineup, but Manoah's also really bad. So there is strikeout upside for him at 6,900. I understand why he's getting ownership on this slate. Kind of like I said at the top, it's not that there's terrible pitchers top to bottom, but a lot of the good pitchers are in pretty tough matchups. It's pretty similar to, I think it was yesterday's slate where we saw it, where it's just like, oh, well, Logan Gilbert looks good, but he's facing the Yankees. Nestor Cortez is good, but he's facing the Mariners. And it was kind of like that in a lot of spots. It's similar in most spots today. You have Kirby against the Yankees. You have Nola, who has his own issues, but is also facing the Mets. And Louis Varland's facing Houston. And then every other pitcher on the slate, Hunter Brown's facing Minnesota. He's kind of yesterday's Zach Gallen, I think. But even Minnesota's a good offense. So all of that, considered, it just goes into the fact it's a big reason why Manoah is still going to pull 15 to 20% ownership. One, he's cheap. And two, you can't name another pitcher on the slate that doesn't have at least one, but this after, when you bring them up.
Yeah, right now I have 24%. I'm fine with it. I don't mind the matchup. 6-game slate. The fact that he's 6,900, like I've rostered a lot worse pitchers. Well, guys that I think don't have the same sort of talent as Manoah for 6,900. That's for sure. So I'm happy to go there. I don't see any way that we're really going to Tehran unless you just trying to be different on a 6-gamer. Like I don't think he looks good at all. He's the worst pitching option today, right?
Probably. I mean, there's a few candidates. We don't know what Tehran is at this point. Like he missed several seasons, so maybe he ends up being good. I highly doubt it, and I'm certainly not looking to find out today against Toronto. As far as the worst pitching option on the slate, he's probably, at the very least, he's the most difficult to roster, I think.
Yeah, that's the way that I meant it. Just because he's 7,400 and Lamet is at least 5,100.
Right. Yeah, like Lamet's 5,100. You could make a case for Weaver, but like Weaver's probably more talented than Tehran.
Sure. Yeah. I just meant like from a projection standpoint and price standpoint, like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get to Weaver either. We can have that conversation in a bit, but either one of those two guys are both very, very uninteresting. So I assume one of them will be in the optimal. Never fails. Let's talk bats here. Very interesting discussion point. Let's go to the Blue Jays first. They are second in ownership. They are third in top stack, fifth in value, fifth in stack score. I'm higher on the Blue Jays here by quite a significant margin in my top stack in comparison to where we're at. I'm jamming Toronto. To me, they're my number one stack. I don't even think they look bad from a value perspective because the guys that are the biggest salary are unquestionably deserving of the salaries that they have. Everybody else is really cheap. We've got MPEs on like Whit Merrifield and Kevon Biggio where you can still roster both of them. They have the exact same second base outfield MPEs, which is rare to see, I would say. I love Toronto.
Yeah, I think they look good. The only negative is we don't know, I guess, what this version of Julio Tehran is. He did pitch very well in his first start, but again, it's more likely than not that Tehran's not very good at this point in his career. And you're getting the Blue Jays in Toronto with the roof open, 5.6 implied run total. They look really good. You don't have Brandon Belt in the lineup today, so you're missing that cheap bat. But as a result, you have Dalton Varsho at 3,600 batting cleanup. That's a really good value piece. Like you said at the top, Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, you're not upset about paying those prices. They're probably a little bit cheaper than they should be. Guerrero 5,100 is a little bit of a discount. Same for Bichette at 5K. Springer is just shy of 5K. Chapman is reasonably priced. Merrifield sub 4K. Kirk is cheap and can hit. It's really not that expensive of a team.
No, I'm very happy to be getting to Toronto, but I am on like a completely different level than we are. I'm basically like 2xing their top stack odds. We have them third. I'm very firmly in they are number one camp. Although if you want to make that the Red Sox, I can take that argument. But I am heavily exposed to Toronto today, which is not really rare. I feel like it's been like 5 straight years where Toronto has been the team that I get to the most.
Sure.
What about the Brewers bats on the opposite side, though? They are the number one value stack. They're the number one value stack to me as well. They're 6th in ownership, but 4th in our top stack score. Do you want to get to Milwaukee as well? Is this a weird game where like you're kind of cool with most of it?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, like I think you can pretty much play everything but Tehran, and I'm sure that means Tehran's going to be the best part of this game. But
yep.
That's just how baseball works. But yeah, I mean, Manoah has been bad this year. And that's kind of what I was getting to when we talked about him as a pitcher. But yes, he's a good or a decent value option at 6,900 just based on the underlying talent and a decent matchup. But he's been really bad. And now he has to deal with Christian Yelich, Rowdy Tellez, Contreras. Those three in particular, I think, are pretty scary. His biggest issue this year has been left-handed power, and there's not a lot of it in the lineup for the Brewers. 242 expected ISO to lefties for Manoah, 415 expected WOBA, only a 17% strikeout percentage. So there's not a lot of it to like, but Yelich and Tellez in particular look good. He has been better against righties, not really from a strikeout standpoint, only striking out 19%, but 138 expected ISO, 339 expected WOBA to righties. If you're stacking the Brewers, by all means, still include Miller, Contreras, Anderson. But, when you're looking specifically for individual bats, I think it's Yelich and Tellez that stand out. You do get a cheap Abraham Toro with MPE batting 6th. Bryce Terang doesn't have a ton of power, but does have a lot of speed. And I'm not even sure that you need a lot of power to hit left-handed home runs off of Manoah at this point. So, I wish this lineup were a little bit better. I wish it was a little bit more left-handed, but really like Yelich, really like Tellez, and I can live with the rest because they're so cheap.
Yeah, I'm like 2xing the Brewers as well. I'm getting to just sort of all of the offense in this spot, and I don't mind it at all. And it's two different constructions where you're getting this cheap Brewers team on one side, although I don't really find Toronto to be all that problematically expensive, but I am getting to a ton of Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, so they're going to be a little bit more costly than the Brewers side, but I'm all offense in this one. So pitchers duel incoming in Toronto. Not fun.
I mean, all you have, so you just stack Toronto, mini stack it with Milwaukee, use Alek Manoah, and then just get there when Milwaukee's cheap bats go off against the bullpen.
That's the plan, right? Looks like the easiest way to do it for me. Rank the game.
This is one where I think it kind of just depends on what you need. In terms of what I will feel good about, if I look and it's in my lineup, I would say Toronto 1, either the Brewers or Manoah 2, the other one 3, Tehran 4. But it's really like lineup dependent because you can make very, very good lineups that need a pitcher in Manoah's price range, and he's just the best. That makes him the best option from this game in that lineup. You can make lineups where maybe you're paying up for Hunter Brown and Kirby or Hunter Brown and Nola, and the Milwaukee value looks like the best thing here. There's just so many different approaches you can take. But I guess, I would rank it Toronto 1, Brewers, Manoah 2, 3 in some order.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. Toronto 1. I'm going to go Manoah 2, Brewers 3, Tehran 4, but 2, 3 can flip for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else for Jays Brewers?
Nope.
All righty. Schedule for the rest of the night. Very important. 1, you guys got to hit the like button. For me to give out the schedule, we can't be at 56 likes. It's got to be a number higher than that. We've got MLB Live Before Lock coming up next, directly after us, taking you from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We don't stop there, however. PGA Live Before Lock coming up 8 p.m. You got to make sure you're watching this. Ben gave out the goods. He had the Griot outright last week. You got to tune in today, find out what he's going with for this week. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a 100-1 ticket for Griot. I'm guessing that Ben has done that for at least the last 100 events that Griot has been in. So that might be a break-even spot for Ben. But nevertheless, he still picked up the dub. Make sure you're watching PGA Live Before Lock tonight. I think it's going to be good for you. Also, and this is the big one, we talk about it a lot on these shows, but there's a reason for it. MLB Lineup Generator, 50% off your first week. Less than $5 for you guys to check this out. We just started up this tool at the beginning of the MLB season, paying dividends for a lot of people. I think that it can pay dividends for you. If you're looking to get a little bit better at MLB DFS, this is the way that you should do it. What we do on the back end is generate thousands and thousands of lineups. And we get rid of everything that we don't think is good enough for you. We present the rest to you. You can make chalky lineups, contrarian lineups, balanced lineups. You could lock players in or swap them around if you want. You could export up to 20 of those lineups via CSV. And all you got to do is click save if you like it, or click discard, and another one pops right up. You're just going to get a better overall lineup construction than I think you would in general, or if you're just hand building. I think this is going to be a step up for you. You're getting a lineup that is up to snuff. So why not try that out for less than $5? $4.48. Think about the things that cost more than that in your life that you don't get utility out of. This $4.48 might make you more money than you had before. Take advantage while you can, folks. Eventually, this deal will go away. Try it out right now. First week, 50% off. Well, if you don't like the Blue Jays, you can go to the Red Sox. 5.8 run implied total there. 4.7 for the Reds. James Paxton and Luke Weaver going here. 19% ownership coming into Paxton. No ownership coming into Luke Weaver. How do you feel about Paxton? 8,500. As I look at this, I want to get more than 20% of James Paxton.
Yeah, this is another really tricky spot. James Paxton has made 3 starts this year. We have no idea what James Paxton is going to be a month or 2 from now. There is a chance that we look back and it's like, wow, he really is back. He's really good. There's a good chance he's on the injured list by then. There's also a chance that he ends up not being very good. But The velocity's been there through 3 starts. It did drop off a little bit in his last start, but still averaged 95.5 miles per hour on his fastball. He'd been a little bit north of 96 through the first couple. So not a huge drop off. The only reason I even noticed it is because I was specifically looking for it because it is James Paxton and James Paxton's arm. But that's certainly not enough of a drop off where I'm like really concerned about it. He did also get hit very hard in that start, so that's not ideal either. But he struck out 31% of hitters so far this year. His xFIP is good at about 3.98, I believe, going from memory. 3.91. FIP 5.57. Yeah, 5.57 FIP because he has been giving up hard contact, and his expected ISO does back up the elevated FIP. 366 expected ISO to lefties, 237 to righties. But again, very, very limited sample. So basically, I'm just viewing this as a very high upside, very volatile pitcher who is only $8,500 on a relatively tough pitching slate. So you're not paying full price for the ceiling. You are getting some sort of a discount for the risk. He's not facing the best offense in Cincinnati. It is notable to me that the Reds have a 4.6 implied run total. That does concern me. It just looks like one of those spots where it's just like, all right, Vegas and sharp bettors know more than I do. And I don't like the way this looks. But yeah, from an upside standpoint in DFS, I'm perfectly happy getting the Paxton. I don't know that I'll get that much more than 25 to 30%. I do think he's still really risky here, but I think that he looks good. I just don't have a lot of confidence. It's kind of the late slate Lance Lynn. Hopefully, if you play him, it goes better than that. Hopefully, if you play the Reds, it doesn't.
Right now, I have 40% of Paxton. I'm just sort of hoping for the best here and that he's him. And I don't mean it like Jimmy Butler him, like he's the guy that
James
he needs
Paxton
to be.
From 2019.
Yeah. Is Luke Weaver going to be Luke Weaver from 2019? I don't know. Did I name the right year for him?
I don't know.
He might be 67 years old at this point.
He's been like a month-to-month guy his entire career. Are you getting the Luke Weaver from July 2018 or June 2018?
That's what I can't remember when he was good.
He's maybe more than like anybody. There's a few pitchers like this, but consistently just done the opposite of what I need. Like I could never figure out why he was such a highly touted prospect. A lot of it was just stuff that didn't show up in metrics that I'm looking at for DFS. Good at tunneling, deceptive, perceived velocity. If I remember right, was a lot higher than actual velocity. But it was just like, this guy doesn't make any sense to me. And then he was just consistently good for a little bit. And then he stopped being good right around the time I was like, all right, I guess this guy's just going to be good. So really, I don't know what to make of him, but it is a very tough matchup for him against the Red Sox. He has had issues with left-handed power this year. 224 expected ISO to lefties, 352 to righties. 352 expected WOBA to lefties, 224 expected ISO. Righties just shy of a 200 expected ISO. They do have a lower 302 expected WOBA. They're striking out like 9 percentage points or 8% more often than lefties. So you prefer getting to left-handed bats against him. That's not to say not to play Justin Turner or Ref Snyder. I actually don't know why Ref Snyder is playing today, but beside the point, Verdugo, Devers, Yoshida, Duran, all in the top 6, sets up as a pretty tough matchup for Weaver.
Yeah, I don't have any Weaver. No surprises there. He threw 136 innings in 2018. That's not even that's his biggest year. Every other year of his career has been 66 innings or less. He's never thrown more. He's thrown more than 66 innings in one season once. This dude is the weirdest dude in the world. I can't wrap my head around his career. I really can't. Hope he sucks today, though. Go Red Sox. Number 1 in top stack, 3rd in top value. They are the most owned team. They are number 1 in our stack score. I have them 2nd behind the Blue Jays, but I could very easily go either direction. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Steamer is still a believer in Luke Weaver's underlying skill set. What do you want to do with Boston? And when I say all of that, I'm still getting to Boston. I am at a minimum neutral to the field here, but I am very heavy on Rafael Devers as a lineup filler too.
Yeah, I mean, Devers looks great. Verdugo looks good. The only thing that kind of sucks about the Red Sox is that they are relatively expensive in terms of their best hitters. Verdugo's up to 5K. Devers is north of 6K. Yoshia's at 5,500. So like you compare that to the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are just kind of cheaper across the board. You do get a very inexpensive Justin Turner, who did pick up third base eligibility as well. So that's nice. Ref Snyder's cheap. I like that he's starting against a righty. Like, it does take away some pinch hit risk. No guarantee he doesn't get pinch hit for later, but the fact he's starting against a righty is pretty good. So I think the Red Sox do look really good. They're just a little bit more expensive than the Blue Jays, at least as far as the guys that you would want to get to.
How do you feel about the Reds bullpen situation for the Red Sox today?
I have no idea.
Do you think that their fourth reliever may or may not pitch the seventh inning? I wish I would have taken the bullpen into account on Saturday. I must have missed that. Could have been a much different day for me. Have you ever looked at the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, I have a bullpen page up in front of me. I just don't. I have it up because once in a while there will be a specific thing I want an answer to. Like, does this team have a left-handed reliever available? Like, if I'm trying to figure out if somebody's gonna be pinch hit for, like, I have it up for that reason.
Would you look at it if you didn't do the show?
If I didn't do the show and I was like hand building 3 lineups and I was in that specific situation where I'm trying to gauge pinch hit risk, then yes. But no, I mean, I wouldn't ever look at it. Like, anything I want to know about the bullpen is baked into stuff already. Like, you're not
That's where I was leading you.
Right. You're not looking at the 5.9 implied run total for the Red Sox and then saying like, oh shit, it should be 7 because the Reds bullpen's tired. Like,
right.
It's going to be factored in. Like, if I were to look right now and see that the Red Sox bullpen is gassed, that would explain part of the 4.6 implied run total for the Reds.
Yeah. But like if the Red Sox played a game yesterday that went 18 innings and they threw everybody, that becomes a relevant point, and it's probably why you have a 4.7 run implied total for the Reds.
Right. But it still becomes a point where it's not important for building your lineups. It's something that if I'm sitting on a show for an hour trying to describe why my lineups are going to look the way they are, it helps explain the run total, but it's not like why you're doing anything in DFS.
The bullpen's already in the run total, so
right.
I don't need any more. When I say Toronto bullpen, you hear Toronto pitching. The guy on the left hears Milwaukee bats. Our names are underneath us, right?
Right. That would make this a lot less confusing.
Don't be afraid to just type Josh, brother. Probably shorter than the guy on the left. Also, you're here. You're choosing to watch this. Oh, I mean, I always get excited. I have some rare Rainmaker UFC cards, and I always get this DraftKings pop-up about getting into like a gated contest for Rainmakers. I'm always excited that I got entered into like some random contest, and then I realize it's the same one for every UFC event every week. Anyway, it's not important. Go Rafael Devers. Do you want to get to the Reds against Paxton?
There it is. What'd you say?
Do you want to get to the Reds against Paxton? I find it to be mildly interesting. If they were better, if they weren't shit, it might be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's kind of interesting. They're 4th in top stack percentage at 11%. They're pulling about 10% ownership, but they're also pretty cheap. And it's just it's kind of comparable to the Manoah Milwaukee spot where there's not a ton of individual bats on the Reds that I love, but they're really cheap across the board. They are in Fenway Park, which is nice. And they're facing a pitcher. This is where it's a little bit different. Paxton at least does have really good strikeout stuff, but he's getting hit really hard when he's not striking you out. So you still have that upside there. I do think the Reds are interesting as a value stack that is getting some ownership, but nothing too crazy. You compare them to Milwaukee, very similar ownership there. Actually, a higher chance of being the top stack for Cincinnati. So in non-Paxton lineups, I do think they make sense.
I am on a completely different planet for the Reds than we are. I don't know whether the truth lies here. Like, we've got them 4th in top stack, 2nd in value, 4th in ownership, 2nd in stack score. Should the Reds be 2nd in stack score today?
I mean, they're cheap and they have a 4.6 implied run total. And I do agree with SMP. Like, he just said the Reds lineup is better than they get credit for. It is. Like, they do have young talent in this lineup. India is not bad. Steer is young, has power. Stevenson can hit. McClain is a highly regarded prospect. Newman isn't the best hitter, but puts the ball in play. Senzel's a former top prospect that just dealt with a bunch of injuries, and now he's back. Like, this Reds team is not proven. They're still going to have a lot of struggles, with a ton of young hitters, but they do actually have talent. It's not like you're talking about the A's or the Rockies or these teams that are just flat out bad.
304 aggregate or 304 aggregate WOBA via Steamer. Steamer hates the Reds ultra bad for today. I'm having trouble reconciling it all.
Since the start of last season, their active roster against left-handed pitching, 108 WRC plus, 335 WOBA. I mean,
I like the idea of getting there just because I think Paxton can be volatile today. I'm surprised they're getting as much love as they are. Although a lot of it is Newman, McLean, and Steer anyway. But
right. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing too. Like, Spencer Steer's cheap. McLean is cheap at a pretty weak position. Stevenson is reasonably priced at catcher, where you're always looking for upside. So that's another thing I think to like about the Reds is that you have cheap, relatively high upside guys, young, talented players at not the strongest positions, with the exception of Steer at first base.
Well, Reds are going to be a fade for me. Obviously, I'm getting double Paxton too, so that's not helping either. But I'm nervous about this one. I don't love it. Rank the game.
Red Sox. This is very similar to the Toronto game. Red Sox, Paxton, Reds, Weaver. But if you are looking for a value stack, then the Reds, I think, look good. Like, yeah. I think Weaver is basically the Julio Teheran here, and then the rest is, I'm probably just going to be getting to it all.
Can you imagine if the Reds were playing the Brewers today? This Luke Weaver, Julio Teheran matchup would be something special. I got nothing else here. Mets and Phillies, different game. 4.3 run implied total for the Mets, 4.4 for the Phillies. Carlos Carrasco and Aaron Nola in this one. Carrasco, 6,400, 12% owned. Nola, 9,100, 27% owned. Which pitcher do you anticipate having more of?
Carrasco?
I have more Carrasco. I don't really have either, and I am ultra light on Aaron Nola.
I don't like either one, but this just goes back to I don't like most of the pitching on this slate in terms of like feeling good about it.
Yeah.
If you want the positive case, Aaron Nola's been a really good pitcher for a really long time. That ends the positive case for Aaron Nola. The negative case is that he's got a really tough match. Also he's pitching in a pitcher-friendly park. But Aaron Nola's also been a better pitcher in Philly for essentially ever. To pull Sean V's favorite stat, except one that I actually buy into because it's been years. But you're getting him in
it's not just this season on Wednesdays.
Yeah, like his entire career, he's been better at home.
Yeah.
But, he's in a pitcher-friendly park, and he has been good. The negative is that the Mets are a good offense. They don't strike out a lot. They do hit well. Nola has not been very good this year. Again, it's more likely than not that he bounces back. It's not like he's extremely old and likely to fall off of a cliff or anything. But 4.32 FIP, 4.12 xFIP, those numbers are fine. They're not Aaron Nola numbers. 21.7% strikeout percentage is several points below where you expect to see Aaron Nola. So the upside is still there. I mean, you're talking about Aaron Nola. He probably, 2 months from now, you probably forget that this slow start to the season existed. But that's no guarantee, and it's not like this is an easy spot to get right. On the other side for Carrasco, the positive is that he's in a pitcher-friendly park. He is $6,400, and he was pretty solid last year. That ends the positive case for Carlos Carrasco. The negative case is that the Phillies have a lot of good hitters in their lineup, and Carlos Carrasco, excluding his most recent start, has been absolute dog shit this year. 13% strikeout percentage, 11% walk percentage, 5.9 xFIP, 6.5 FIP, 1.8 home runs per 9. Now that's only like 5 starts. So again, I think it's more likely than not that he gets back to similar to what we saw last year, where he was like a 3.5, 3.6 xFIP guy, decent strikeout stuff, and he's probably underpriced at 6,400, but he's been really, really bad.
The way that I look at Nola is like, I don't see a ceiling game being very likely. To me, it just looks like a case where it's really easy for him to be like tolerable, but not great because of the Mets matchup. And that's why I'm getting to everybody else. For him to just like come out here and mow down the Mets, that is an unlikely scenario in comparison to some of these other spots that exist. Like once we get to Hunter Brown, we start looking at the matchup and we're talking about basically like a full run differential. That's where I think it starts to get different. So I am light on Nola. I don't love it, but I'm willing to tolerate it given the fact that I think the Mets are good.
Yeah, agreed. And just SMP said, not talking today's lineup necessarily, by the way, but no, I thought the Reds thing was interesting just because I think it was Ken Rosenthal put out an article the other day talking about how Cincinnati's top prospect, I'm blanking on his name, like De La Cruz maybe, but that could be completely wrong. Whoever their top prospect is essentially ready for the major leagues. And the article was saying, like, what do the Reds do with Jonathan India? Because this guy is likely to take India's spot. And I saw the headline. What'd you say?
De La Cruz, by the way.
And I saw the headline and I'm like, what do you mean? What do they do with India? It's the Reds. You can just replace like any of 6 guys on their team and, figure it out. Like Jonathan India is not going anywhere. And then you read the article and it's just like, oh, wow, they actually do like sort of just have young talent everywhere now.
They should. I'm assuming the Cincinnati Reds have had a lot of relatively high draft picks as of late.
Yeah.
A lot of extra bonus money going around. All right, let's talk bats in this one, which I assume we're not getting to a lot, but Phillies are 5th in ownership. The Mets are 9th. Phillies are 5th in top stack, which I also find interesting, but that's what happens when you face Carlos Carrasco. Which team do you anticipate getting to more, the Phillies or the Mets?
I would expect to get to the Phillies more. I'm not super confident that Nola is fully there right now, but I'm more confident in Aaron Nola stuff than Carrasco's. You also you have Harper back in the lineup today. You have a solid Phillies lineup, at least 1 through 6. So probably the Phillies. The ownership is sort of appealing on the Mets. You're getting good hitters: Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, Alonso, Beatty, Marte. Those guys are all solid, but you don't have Alvarez in the lineup. That hurts. It's really nice when you can get to him as a cheap catching option. Instead, you have Thomas Nido, who is cheap, but you're not really looking to get to. So I think I get to the Phillies side first.
I'm not really getting to much of anything here, and I think that's probably the more likely scenario. I don't like this game at all. It's just one of those spots where I can see all 4 pieces of it being awful or any one of them succeeding. I don't have a great, ranking this one to me is impossible. I feel indifferent about most of it. I guess Nola is first, but I don't like it.
Yeah, this is sort of the opposite of the Red Sox game and the Blue Jays game, where in those games it was like there's upside everywhere, but you don't know how it's going to play out, obviously, but like you can get excited about like three spots of the game. Here it's kind of just like, well, I'm not excited about any of this stuff, but it's all playable. I guess I would rank it Nola, Carrasco, Phillies, Mets. I think I personally probably get to a little bit more Carrasco since he's so cheap, but Nola does project better. He is getting more ownership. I think that if you're just straight ranking stuff, it's probably Nola 1.
Yeah, I've got 4% aggregate Phillies, 3% aggregate Mets, 5% of Carrasco, 3% of Nola. I need this game to be 4-3 today and just be wildly uneventful.
Yep.
And preferably have those 4 runs and 3 runs scored in the first 5 innings. So they also get attributed to pitchers that become meaningless. I got nothing else here.
Do you think it matters that Connor Brogdon threw 6 pitches yesterday?
Isn't he injured with a forearm strain?
Yeah, but he played 7 minutes.
Okay. Isn't he out now? They lost, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know who that is.
The first reliever's name that I saw in the Phillies.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, not familiar. What I am familiar with, though, is PrizePicks, presenting sponsor of this show. This is the easiest read that I will do. 1, because I've been doing a PrizePicks read for months for a PrizePicks video, which, by the way, coming out Monday, MLB PrizePicks. I went 5 of 6 last night. Didn't post it anywhere, so I should have just told you guys I went 6 of 6. I'm not going 6 of 6 today for the early slate, but I do have 6 plays for tonight. I'm going to throw a couple of them at Adam. What you guys should do is sign up for PrizePicks. Link in the description. First and foremost, you get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. That's over $100 value right away. Costs you nothing other than you just signing up through that link. 2, you'll get up to $100 in a deposit match bonus from PrizePicks. So you put in $100, they'll match with another $100. You're trying to go over under on their projections. So like, for example, today I'm looking at Aaron Judge over under 8.5 fantasy points. That's going to be DraftKings scoring. I took the under on that bad boy for today. You put together 5 on one card, they all win. You can net up to 10x your entry fee. But even if you don't get them all right, if you go 4-1, that's 2x. If you go 3-2, that's still 0.4x. So you're still getting a little bit of your money back. You can go upwards of 6 on one card for 25 times your money. It's the easiest way for you guys to build up a bankroll because you get a month of our package, the platinum package, and you get that bonus on your first deposit. I already told you that I like the under on Aaron Judge, minus 8.5 fantasy points rather. Again, DraftKings scoring. That was the one that I liked the under on the most. Obviously, he can ruin that with one swing of the bat. That's Aaron Judge for you. And I am leaning towards most unders, but I did take 2 overs. So you're not going to know who my overs are on. What would you like to do for over under 8 fantasy points for Julio Rodriguez?
What's the scoring again?
DK scoring.
Okay. You said 8?
8.
Over?
Interesting. Okay. I have that firmly under.
I think it's really close.
Masataka Yoshida? The line is 7.
Oh, way over.
Yeah. Staggering over for me. That is the number one over that I have of anything that is listed at PrizePicks. We could also add that one to Rafael Devers, 7.5.
I don't even need to look to tell you over.
Yes, that is the second most popular over for me. They are the 2 that I would like to get to. Julio Rodriguez was the 3rd best under for me. Aaron Judge is my number 1 under. His line, 8.5.
You understand home runs are worth 14, right?
Sure do. Sure do. But when he doesn't hit one, that's when the money gets printed.
When does that happen?
1 out of every 2 days, it seems.
Yeah, he's hit 12 in his last 16 games.
Yeah, I saw ESPN had like a thing going on earlier today of him just nuking ball after ball after ball since he's come off the DL. Guys, sign up at PrizePicks. Get yourself an extra $100 on your $100 deposit at PrizePicks. You don't have to put in 100, but you should. And get yourself a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Hit the like button. We might have to do some explaining quickly. Higa Benu says you only get 7 for a home run. That is not true. Not true.
He followed up with the rest of it.
Well, he's still wrong because it's 10. So it's 10 no matter what for the home run.
I thought you said it was DraftKings scoring.
Is DraftKings not 10?
For a home run?
Yeah.
Total?
10 plus 2 plus 2?
Oh, it's 14 total.
Right, but the home run itself is 10 in the scoring. Idea. It's not 7 on PrizePicks. So there's that. Astros and Twins. 4.6 run implied total for the Astros. 3.5 for the Twins. Hunter Brown going for Houston. Louis Varland going for Minnesota. Hunter Brown, 44% owned. That is the highest owned guy on today's slate. He's also the most expensive pitcher. This is a hell of a strikeout matchup. I have all of the Hunter Brown. Are you joining me?
This is the closest thing to confidence I can have in a pitcher today. Minnesota doesn't have Lewis in their lineup, which is probably a downgrade strikeout-wise, but also gets a very promising prospect out of there. You have Donovan Solano in, not a great strikeout guy, but not a great hitter. Kyle Farmer is in the lineup. They are missing Buxton and Lewis. So they're missing one of their best hitters and probably one of their other best hitters. Yeah, I mean, it's still a lineup that can do damage, but 3.5 implied run total. Hunter Brown is good. Young pitcher for Houston. 28% strikeout percentage this year. 3.04 FIP, 3.08 xFIP. Just doesn't give up a lot of power, gets strikeouts against both sides of the plate. 28.2% K percentage to lefties, 28% to righties. 155 expected ISO to lefties, 113 to righties. Obviously things can go wrong. Minnesota does still have talent in their lineup, but Brown is, to me, yesterday's Zach Gallen.
This Higabenu dude in chat is terrible at math. 7 for home run, 3 for hit, 2 for run, 2 for RBI. It's 10 for home run.
He's talking about DraftKings.
Right. There is no hit on DraftKings for 3 points. That's not a thing. You get 10 points for the home run. I'm looking at it right now. There's no, we've got no conversation.
Yeah, you're right.
Of course I'm right.
I really wanted you to be wrong, but you are right.
No, you could not be more wrong, Higaboo, or whatever the hell your name is. You're just 100% wrong. And not that I want to get into this one for Chuck Deuces, but you can absolutely hit a home run and not get a run or an RBI when you do it. It doesn't happen frequently, but it does happen from time to time.
Essentially never, but it can happen.
It happened in our district semifinal.
We get a fight around the third base?
No, we had a guy on first and he passed him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I guess that's the most likely way it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. I'd say you probably get and even in the majors, it's probably a lot less. But yeah, you can hit a home run and not get credit for a run and an RBI if you get yourself out before you make it back around the bases.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even if you get in a fight on the way home, you get credit for it. Like when Brian McCann cut off Carlos Gomez getting to the plate, as far as I know, Gomez still got a home run, even though there was just a brawl halfway up the third baseline.
Yeah, I don't know. This guy's still arguing like he has the correct points. Couldn't be more incorrect. That math ain't mathing, per Jordan Klein. You getting a Louis Varland, 9% owned.
I think he's sort of interesting in tournaments just because most of the pitching on this slate is so volatile. Varland has been good this year. He's got solid strikeout stuff, 24% K percentage, doesn't walk a lot of guys, 3.78 xFIP. He has had some power issues, 171 expected ISO to lefties, 278 to righties. You're not getting the Astros' best lineup here. It's still obviously very, very good, but no Altuve, no Corey Julks. You have Dubon in place of Altuve. You have McCormick in place of Julks. So, it's a very dangerous spot, but 4.5 implied run total for Houston. Not that, run totals are everything when you're talking DFS pitching, but just to kind of put it in context, 4.5 implied run total for Houston, 4.6 for the Reds, Paxton getting 20% ownership, Varland getting 8 at the same price. I think Varland is a reasonable pivot in tournaments.
Oh. Jake Swales, we literally just had it on the damn screen for you in this show that you're wrong. You don't have to post the screenshot. We already posted it to prove you incorrect. How is this still happening? Am I getting trolled here?
I have no idea.
I had 2 IPAs at lunch and I'm starting to think it's on me somehow.
No, I'm looking at it too, and I'm stone cold sober.
Jordan has it highlighted on the damn screen for everybody to see for this show. Let's talk Astros bats, I guess. 8th in ownership, 8th in top stack, 9th in stack score. Are we just indifferent here about this Astros team? Louis Varland's good enough?
Pretty much. I mean, getting to the Astros at relatively low ownership is always going to be pretty appealing. Alvarez, Tucker, clearly, especially Alvarez, you're very happy to get to. On the one hand, Dubon does make this stack a little bit cheaper leading off at 3,300. He also has MPE. But, Varland is a solid enough pitcher. It's a tournament stack for me. I'm not looking at any piece of this outside of, I guess Alvarez. I'm not looking at any piece of this saying oh, I really want that. But if I start getting, 7% owned lineups that have Dubon, Pena, Alvarez, Bregman, Tucker stacked, perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, I have a little bit of Houston, nothing too crazy. Basically just sort of running neutral. I certainly do not have the Minnesota Twins, but it's going to be hard to get to the Minnesota Twins when you have 85% of Hunter Brown. You getting anything Twins?
Probably not.
Oh, they priced Royce Lewis up, but gave him an MPE. That's fun.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, he's shortstop third now.
Good. What's his price? Not that he's playing, but
$3K. Is he out of the lineup? Did that come out? Oh, yeah, we got a shit ton of lineups. Got it.
Yeah, I talked about it too. No Buxton, no Lewis.
Oh, I wasn't listening to you.
Obviously.
Now I like Hunter Brown even more. That part I actually did hear, and it was just me recalling it. Anything else for Astros Twins? I don't think we have much to rank here. It's Hunter Brown number 1, and then doesn't appear that a lot of people are getting to much, but probably
I think it's Brown
Astros over Varland.
Yeah, I think it's Brown 1. Varland Astros are kind of the same play to me. High upside, good, low owned, not the easiest spots to get to because they're facing each other essentially. But it's one of those where people are not going to play Houston because they're facing a good pitcher, and they're not going to play Varland because he's facing Houston. But still, there's plenty of times where one side is just going to win out and look good at low ownership.
It's the same thing, but if we're being technical about who is actually right, it's Higabenu. I can't even imagine saying that after seeing the screen with the rules and scoring tab of DraftKings pulled up for this conversation. That's just fascinating. Diamondbacks and Rockies. 5.5 run implied total for the D-backs, 4.5 for the Rockies. They must be playing this one on the moon. Tommy Henry going for Arizona. Dinelson Lamet going for the Rockies. Henry 11% owned at 5,700. Lamet unowned. What do you want to do here with Tommy Henry? 5,700 against the Rockies. Always a good spot, but they actually have a real implied total today.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to pay down, Henry is fine because he's facing the Rockies, but as bad as the Rockies are, and I understand, it's appealing to just roster any pitcher against them, Tommy Henry is really, really, really bad also. If you're just going to blindly say, well, the Rockies are bad, take the pitcher, you kind of have to look at it the other way too. Like, this pitcher is really bad, and I think he can take the Rockies. Henry's striking out 13% of hitters this year with a 10% walk percentage. His numbers are essentially almost identical to Carlos Carrasco. The only difference is that Carrasco has a track record of being a good major league pitcher, and Tommy Henry does not. So that is kind of interesting to me. And we have seen the ownership flatten out. When I wrote my article earlier, we were getting like 14 or 15% ownership to Henry and only like 6 or 7 to Carrasco. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me, given that you have the same concerns about the talent level of both, but at least one of them has proven that they can pitch in the major leagues. Now they are getting about the same ownership, which makes a lot more sense to me. Very, very risky option, but at 5,700, not a lot. Like, there is a margin for error there. He can give up 3 runs, and if he gets through 5 innings, probably be fine, especially when you consider, the other part of this is that it's not like you have a bunch of guys in the mid-range or at the top where you're expecting them to go get, 16 to 22 DraftKings points pretty frequently. You have a lot of guys that could just very easily go out there and put up like 12, 13, and if Henry goes and gets like 9 or 10, you're probably going to be happier with Henry. So I think he's okay as a paid-on option, but you should have zero confidence in him.
Lamet?
If Tommy Henry is going to be 10% owned, I don't think Lamet's the craziest play at no ownership. I don't know what to expect from Lamet. This is a really weird slate, by the way, where we just keep having pitchers where it's just like, I don't know, they've been hurt for 3 years. But Lamet,
I think all these guys got COVID 3.5 years ago and shit, right, and they're all just getting back now. Tehran, Weaver, Lamet.
Right. So like Lamet years ago was a starter for the Padres, had really good stuff, has not been able to stay healthy. So far this year, he's worked out of the bullpen for Colorado, 12 appearances, no starts, but he made 3 rehab starts at AAA. In his most recent, he threw 63 pitches. I assume he's got a short leash tonight. Like, the Rockies would probably love to get 4 or 5 good innings out of him. I don't think they're going to push him, but 4 innings from, like, the way I'm thinking about this is in lineups where, let's say you're going to Hunter Brown and a relatively expensive offense. So you actually need the cheap pitcher. And let's say that your options are sub 6K. So you're talking Tommy Henry or Dinelson Lamet. You could tell me that Lamet is limited to 4 innings. He's still beating Tommy Henry a pretty decent percent of the time because Tommy Henry sucks. So, like, the matchup for Henry is definitely better. I don't know what to expect from Lamet given how long it's been. But at no ownership, it's not the craziest play in a lineup here or there just because at least he's not Tommy Henry.
We're on the same page, I guess. I'm not really getting to him because I just don't feel like I need the salary.
Right. That's what I think the most likely case is going to be, is that you can just still build good lineups and go to at least get to like Carrasco or Manoah. But I like there is not a pitcher in the major leagues that Tommy Henry at the same price should be 5-1 favorite against in terms of ownership.
Oh man, what a weird game. All right, let's go to Diamondbacks bats, I guess. Third in ownership, rather. Second in top stack, 4th in stack score. They're one of 3 teams that have the big 5.5 run implied total. How do you feel about Arizona? Because this is the team that I'm probably the lightest on of the 3 big total teams. And then how do you rank Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I think I'm a little lower on the Diamondbacks as well, although it is still a really high upside spot because, like we were just saying with Lamet, he is talented, but we have no idea what this 2023 starter version of the Nelson Lamet looks like. You do have a good Diamondbacks lineup. They're running out about as good a lineup as they can. Smith leading off is cheap. We know Marte is good. Carroll's very good. Walker, Gurriel, Rojas are all reasonably priced. You get a high upside catcher option, which is nice because I don't know that we specifically mentioned one catcher on this slate. I mentioned Tyler Stevenson, but other than that, I don't. Alejandro Kirk.
I was going to say, I think we talked about Kirk earlier.
Yeah, but it is a pretty weak catcher slate. So having Gabby Moreno at 3,100 in a good spot is pretty appealing. I think I guess I'll take it back in terms of liking the spots. I think I like the spots a little bit better for Toronto and the Red Sox. I think the Diamondbacks might actually be the easiest team to get to of the group, though.
They're the team I'm getting the least, but I agree with you that I think they are the easiest team to roster.
Like, they're the lowest owned. They're the cheapest. They have a similar implied run total. And also keep in mind that, part of the reason for this run total, to go back to earlier, Lamet isn't going deep into this. Even if the Nelson Lamet comes out there and he is just really good, you're probably getting 5 innings of Rockies bullpen.
But who's available for the Rockies bullpen? Had to. Do you want to go to the Rockies, who, with a 4.5 run implied total, might have the highest run total they'll have all year on the road?
I think the lack of ownership is pretty interesting. 7% ownership. Tommy Henry's getting more ownership than the Rockies.
Yeah.
It's difficult to point to the spots of the lineup that you want. Chris Bryant. I mean, Diaz is a catcher option. He's incredibly expensive. Grichuk and Bryant, I guess, would be my 2 favorite plays here. Brenton Doyle at 3,400 looks fine. This is very much one of those teams where, I think they're a good stack. I have a very difficult time saying, oh, yeah, I really like this hitter.
I can't bring myself to get to Colorado today, but they do grade out, as a neutral option. I do have a little bit, but it's 3% in the aggregate. I've got more Arizona, obviously.
Chris Bryant historically hits better or hits well in Chase Field. 2 things with that. Chase Field, not that long ago, was an extreme hitter's park. Now it is not. Added a humidor, and it has been pitcher friendly for a few years. Also, Chris Bryant used to be a good hitter. Now not.
Rank the game. Diamondbacks 1 and best of luck to you.
Yeah, Diamondbacks 1. The rest sucks. But the rest is all everything else is playable, but it all is bad.
We've now come to an agreement that a single is worth 3 for the hit and 0 for the single. So that's how you get 3 points. Oh, man. It really breaks down when you start adding plus zeros to shit.
I mean, I get what they're saying. The live scoring
so do I.
Sets it up that way. But why would you
used to be a hit? Did you used to get points for the hit?
Yeah, I think it used to. I think the scoring used to actually be the way the live scoring shows it.
That's why I assume it's showing up like that.
Right. But if you're in this argument, there is no way that how it's described in live scoring is the official scoring and not the official fucking scoring page.
Right. That's my point here. But if I'm looking at a single and it's I got 3 points for the hit and a plus 0 bonus for hitting a single, I'm immediately going to realize that everything that I'm saying doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I think it used to just be the baseline, and every single one of these was less, but I can't picture it, and it's not like I'm going to go through any situation to figure it out. You ready to close this out?
Wasn't Brian a top 15 hitter?
Oh man, good callback.
Yeah, that was a
very good callback.
I think it was top 25, but still very good.
4.1 run implied total for the Mariners, 3.5 for the Yanks. George Kirby and Clark Schmidt. Both these guys pulling comparable ownership. They're both around 30% owned. Kirby is 9,400. Schmidt is 7,700. What do you want to do with Kirby here going up against the Yanks?
This is Logan Gilbert from last night, except probably not quite as good a pitcher. I don't mean that in the way that I don't mean that in the sense that George Kirby's getting blown up. I just mean it's a tough matchup against the Yankees, but it is one of the most pitcher friendly parks in baseball. It is a good pitcher. Kirby's strikeout percentage leaves something to be desired at 20%, but 3.95 xFIP, 3.5 FIP, does not walk anybody. 2.5% walk percentage this year. It's a spot where on like a normal slate, Kirby would probably be getting like 10 to 15% ownership at 9,400 here against the Yankees. Because it's a 6-gamer with very little that you can feel good about, he's getting 31. So I do think he's going a little bit over-owned. I don't mind just saving some money and playing more of the mid-range guys and also getting more Hunter Brown. But he is a good pitcher. He is in a good pitcher's park. On this slate, I think that's enough to make you a pretty solid option.
Clark Schmidt, 26% owned, 7,700. That feels like a lot.
I like Schmidt here.
For
the salary, yeah. Like sure. He has a 25% K percentage this year, former first round pick, 3.95 xFIP. He's been just a pretty good pitcher this year. The Mariners are not the best matchup, but it is a good park. And it's really just the price tag for me. Like I think it's going to open up a lot of stuff for you. And there's nobody else outside of Luke Weaver directly at his price. You know, yeah. Louis Varland is 600 more. Nobody's even really playing him. Paxton is 800 more. Manoah is 800 less, and obviously comes with his own issues. So
I'm getting Manoah over Schmidt in this,
which spot. I think is reasonable. Like there's no problem there, but there is no question Schmidt's been a better pitcher this year in terms of run prevention, in terms of strikeouts. Like his strikeout stuff this year is better than good Manoah's strikeout stuff. So yeah, I think he's kind of just mispriced. Like yes, it's a scary spot, but I do like the strikeout upside, and I like that there's just nothing else at this price point.
Crawford France 1-2 is so rough for that strikeout matchup.
Yeah,
but I have 5% Schmidt, so this is not a spot that I'm getting to with a lot of frequency. I'm like half the field on Kirby too. Kirby turns into Paxton for me, and Schmidt turns into Manoah for me. So I figure one of these like guys that I got to roll the dice on should be decent.
Yeah, and I think that's like perfectly reasonable. I certainly wouldn't at their current ownership levels, you know, because Schmidt is getting 27% ownership. He's the third highest owned guy on the slate. It's not like he's getting double the ownership of Manoah. So it's not like I think you should just be not playing Manoah and jamming in Clark Schmidt or something. I kind of just think the field has it right.
Are we rostering the Mariners or Yankees as stacks with any sort of priority?
It's sort of like the Astros. The Yankees have a ton of upside, mostly because they have Aaron Judge, but you do get the Yankees are just weird because most of their lineup sucks right now due to injuries, but Torres is a really good second base option. Judge is obviously fantastic. So you get some upside there, and then you just get really cheap hitters the rest of the way. So as a whole, you can build a really high upside lineup where it's like, oh, I got really good pitching. I have really good one-offs. Now I just need the Yankees offense to do stuff. They do have one of the lowest implied run totals on the slate. I don't think I'll get to a lot of them, but there is at least that case for them where, we just saw it last night against a good pitcher. Like there's still Aaron Judge just makes the offense as a whole such a high upside spot to get to.
He's so good. Hate it. All right. Favorite stacks?
Arizona. This is such a weird slate. I mean, it's got to be Arizona, Boston, Toronto, right? But they're also so popular. I just don't really have a low owned stack I love. I guess as far as the sub 9% owned stacks, so that leaves the Rockies, the Astros, the Mets, the Mariners, the Yankees, the Twins. Out of those teams, I would say probably Colorado.
Okay. Blue Jays, Brewers, and Red Sox are what I have right now. Favorite pitchers?
Hunter Brown.
Yeah.
Wish I could just roster him twice. Make him 12K if you want to use him again.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Hunter Brown, Clark Schmidt, and I do like Varland in tournaments. I do not think on this slate Louis Varland should be getting the same ownership as Tommy Henry.
Brown, Paxton, Manoah are my three most exposed pitchers, so I'm gonna need some Alka-Seltzer or something tonight.
Yeah, and I mean I think that's perfectly reasonable. I was kind of trying to answer it with ownership in mind too, just because this slate's such a crapshoot. But yeah, I mean in terms of in terms of fake confidence, I guess my top three are Brown, Paxton, Schmidt. But again, that is the loosest I've ever used the word confidence.
MLB Deeper Dive in the books, folks. Thanks to PrizePicks for being the sponsor. Thanks to Adam. Thanks to Jordan for producing. Hit that like button on our way out the door. You don't have to go anywhere. MLB Live Before Lock coming up next. And don't forget, it's 10 points for a home run. We'll talk to you later.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Yeah, here we go. Inducting you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame and dishing out this week a ton of free Stokastic Plus memberships, $120 value. All you got to do to get up here on the board, greatest day of your life, get inducted, get the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, is download the Stokastic.com avatar. At Stokastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play and tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and boom, you're in. Just have to have a Twitter account and play DFS with the avatar. Get the free month, get inducted. We got a lot of great ones today, so let's dive into it. First one, our own Josh Engleman. Don't worry, Steve Buzzard, I'll take it from here. 50K. Saturday over the weekend, our boy took down 50K in the relay throw, and it was a blowout, not even close. Shout out to Josh. You'll be seeing more of him and myself all over the shows going forward. Tyler McKeever, another trip to the Hall of Fame. Thanks, guys. $500 in the MLB Beanball. And Zemanuel chopped to 24 others, including Awesemo DFS for the win on FanDuel. Turned 60 in the roughly 1,200. All right, yeah. Oh, and of course, shout out to the best DFS content in the industry. Thanks, Emmanuel. Appreciate you. And Sean, how about Sean? Enjoyed chopping with Alex, chopping a lot lately. Alex in the $6 last night, been running hot in showdowns lately. Shout out to the Stokastic crew for the best content and tools in the game. And Brett comes up next. Just a very simple at Stokastic HOF, man, a few words. $3,000 in the jab step. And how about Crash Money? He's been up here a bunch lately. Turned 80 in the 600 with first place in the pinch hit and third in the wiffle ball, thanks to the whole Stokastic crew for great tools, and to EMAC and Terry McBride for a great show today, and NewsGod for great customer service, getting me going on baseball. Guys, just going out to everybody. A lot of love for everyone here. Jay, hey team, won this on the 511 slate. All lineup generator. Yeah, love to see that one. One entry, third out of almost 11,000, $2 in the 750. Using the MLB lineup generator, as you guys know, 50% off for your first week, less than $4.50 for the lineup generator for your first week. And we got Justin. Sometimes you don't hit for weeks. Sometimes all the projections, stars align. Nice 3-day MLB showdown heater. Couldn't do it without Stokastic. Yeah, dude. Awesome heater right there. Looks like you're back in the black, my friend. Jorn, woke up to a bink. Thanks for the advice, fellas. $500 in the MLB pinch hit on a $25 entry. And Matthew Bellman, back-to-backs from Bellman. MLB contributor here at Stokastic. Dude's just been absolutely raking. Yay baseball, 100K, 60K. Now, of course, guy's playing a decent amount in these entries, but he can because he wins a lot. Just like FanDuel has been decent as he shouts out player Q DFS, our own Neil Orfield. Another $100,000 win. The screenshots from Matthew have been absolutely insane lately. Dave Oliver, you guys are the best, and thank you for your great advice and tools. First out of 1360, first turns that into $2,000. And Adam, this one's odd. Stokastic has daddy feeling real sexy after turning 25 cents in the 500 last night. Go Hawks. And then he adds Eric Lindquist here, which is suspect, but we continue. And Tyler, again, third time this month in the top 5 for Tyler. Donkey, weird slate, but nice ROI in the $95,000 entry nickel contest. Stokastic tools rule the world. That they do, my friend. Congratulations. And Colby, please excuse my Twitter skills, but top 3, field of 5K or more, barely making both. $2 into $250. Always been a fan of the great YouTube information and would love to try out the tools. Well, you got it, fella. They are yours for the next month. And finally, Clay Miller. This is the result I sought. Thanks to Stokastic and my Premium Plus FC subscription takedown. $1 brought 50, first to 356. Yes, thanks to the tools. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We've got it right here for you. All you got to do, download the Stokastic profile picture at Stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stokastic HOF. Get that free month, Stokastic Plus Platinum, and get inducted or welcome back.
What's happening, everybody? It is time for another MLB Live Before Lock, and we are on the eve of the start of the NBA Finals. So baseball today, but big basketball day tomorrow. There's going to be a Millie Maker on DraftKings, so we're going to be excited to talk about that. And also kind of leading up to it, as you guys come in, of course, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're sponsored by PrizePicks today. Have you seen the free square available over at PrizePicks for the next couple of days? Now, it exists now, but it's going to be up there tomorrow as well. Have you seen this?
I do not know what the actual prop is. I know it's a picture of Nikola Jokic as a kid. So I know it's a Jokic prop, but I don't remember what the actual prop is.
So it's over 0.5, over under 0.5 points for Nikola Jokic. You could take either side of that. Obviously, we're going to lean towards the over when it comes to Nikola Jokic, but PrizePicks, totally free square with the NBA Finals approaching, over 0.5 points for Jokic. Take advantage of it, but also take advantage of our offer that we have with PrizePicks, because when you sign up using our link, you're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit and 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. So shout out to them for sponsoring our show today. And just that's a really easy way for you guys to get in the door. Sign up at PrizePicks, take advantage of a free square, and all the while, you get access to all the tools we have over at Stokastic.com as well. And 6-game MLB slate tonight, Neil, but how did last night's slate go for you?
Last night's slate, that's a very good question. I think I lost a little bit of money on last night. Oh yeah, that was a slate that you and I, our top stacks were. I had Toronto, you had Baltimore. They both put up 7 runs in the first 3 innings. Things were looking great, and then kind of fell flat after that. So it turned out okay. Like I think I turned $80 into like $60, so like lost a little bit. But if that's what my losing days look like, I'll take it. How'd it go for you?
Yeah, I like tripled my money yesterday. There was a point where I was in first in like the 121 single entry. I was in first in like the $88. I was like, oh, this is looking pretty good here because the Orioles have put up a bunch of runs. I had exposure to some of the lesser, the entire team was like 1% owned in some of the, single entry type stuff. But then what ends up happening is, the Dodgers scored a bunch of runs, like the Red Sox scored a bazillion runs in the 9th inning of their game. So it ended up being profitable. But still, I thought I was going to be making some big bucks yesterday. Ended up being profitable, not quite as much as what I would have hoped for because of some of that late chalk that ended up coming through and hitting in a big way. But still, we move on to today. It is a 6-game slate, and we'll start by talking about the pitchers here, Neil. It's an interesting one, both from a pitcher and a hitter standpoint. Starting with the chalk at pitcher, we've got Hunter Brown projected for nearly 50% ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's projected for 32% ownership. He's one of the best young pitchers we have in baseball. He's modeled his game after Justin Verlander. Their mechanics look nearly identical. But on a slate where there are not that many ace-type pitchers to get to, what are you going to be doing with an uber chalky Hunter Brown?
Yeah, so I'm setting my cap at 50% on all pitchers. I actually haven't run a crunch yet. I assume I'm going to be getting to 50% Hunter Brown. So I'm going to be a little bit above weight to the field. He does have negative leverage in the top pitchers tool. Again, I'm more and more willing to just play the chalk pitchers. So going a little bit above weight to the field on Hunter Brown, despite the negative leverage, despite playing against my Twins, he is, I just think, the most talented pitcher on the slate. So I'm willing to go there. How about you?
Yeah, so I need to update my lineups for the Rockies lineup that just came out, which isn't going to make any real major impacts, but there is just one run that I'm still going to have to do here. I'm coming in fairly underweight to the field on Hunter Brown, just because it's hard to find spots to really differentiate from the field when it comes to offenses. Like if you look at our top stacks tool, nearly every single team's top stack score is fairly close to their ownership percentage. So like, all right, if my stack ownership is going to be pretty close to the field, which I think is about appropriate, there's a couple of spots that look a little bit overowned, but there's nothing that's really, crazy underowned. I'm going to have to get different at pitching to make sure that my lineups are different looking in large field tournaments. I can't just be doing the same thing as the field at pitching and at hitting. So when I was running my lineups before, I was getting to, let's see, I'm pulling it up on my other screen over here. Yeah, I was about half the field on Hunter Brown, which still makes him one of my more rostered pitchers, but like well underweight to the field on him, where I'm getting to him like 25, 30%, just because that's how I feel is the most reasonable way to differentiate my lineups. If you look at our top pitchers tool, he is the most negatively leveraged pitcher that we have on the entire slate. He's safe, he's popular, but I do think there are some cheaper guys that we could go to that maybe have comparable upside. And you just hope then kind of like the Memorial Day slate. I don't know if you remembered if you played that one, but we had Nathan Eovaldi was projected for like, he ended up being 55% owned or something like that. He was the safest pitcher on the slate. He was super expensive. He was fine. He put up 19 fantasy points, but he had a bunch of pitchers who were cheaper that ended up scoring, like 26. Logan Allen scored something like that. You got like 40 out of Marcus Stroman. And these were pitchers who were owned, like 11 and 15%. That's what I'm hoping I can hit on today, is just mix in some of these lower owned pitchers and end up hitting the nuts that way. And that's how I'm going to differentiate. So if you're going with the chalk on Hunter Brown, it's not like you're overweight to the field in any crazy way. He's 50% owned, you said, in your lineups. Are there any lower owned pitchers that you are getting to in any kind of meaningful way?
Yeah, that's a good. Let me actually run a crunch real quick because I got it all set up. So I'm going to better be able to answer that question once I have run some crunches, because I imagine there's going to be probably not like too many that I have a ton of, but I'm guessing I'm going to have at least some. 1 second.
Yeah, so I will, I'll tell you who I am most overweight to the field to right now. And it is not one that makes me feel comfortable at all, but it's James Paxton, who has largely sucked so far this year. He has been an absolute trash bag. He's been hurt the last couple of years. Here's the one positive sign I have for James Paxton, who's been frequently injured throughout his career. His velocity looks really good this year. I know the results haven't been there. He gave up a ton of runs in the minor leagues. He's given up a bunch of runs in the major leagues. He's made 3 starts so far this year. He is a 5.14 ERA, a 5.54 expected ERA. I suspect you're not interested yet based on this, Neil. But he has a 96.2 mile per hour average fastball velocity. That is his highest since 2016. And he's striking guys out. We have James Paxton this year putting up a 31.7% strikeout rate. He's got a great matchup against the Cincinnati Reds. If I'm just looking for a lower owned pitcher with upside today, there's clear downside in James Paxton. I do not think anybody should be playing him in cash games, but for tournament purposes, we have a pitcher who's priced in the mid-range, is not picking up a ton of ownership, and there's a path to upside here. FanDuel, he's projected for 7% ownership. DraftKings, 18%. It's just hard to find these guys on this slate that aren't picking up a lot of ownership that have upside, and I view Paxton as being that sort of player.
Yeah, I think Paxton looks great. Obviously, a lot of volatility there. We can embrace volatility in GPPs. I'm going to be definitely playing some Paxton. And yeah, it looks like I'm going to be getting to, in my first crunch, at least I have 29% Paxton. So, not going crazy there, but what is the field at? We've got the field at 19%. So I'm going to be above weight to the field on Paxton. Great matchup with Cincinnati. Obviously, the ballpark, not ideal, but probably better in Fenway than in Cincinnati. 8,500, the price is right. Yeah, I'm going above weight to the field on Paxton.
And really the big thing here is just like, I'm trying to find little edges on the slate. And I just think it's going to be really hard to play lineups that are different looking if I just have like 1,000,000% Hunter Brown, who once again is really good. But a lot of times on these smaller slates, just the way the pricing works, like Hunter Brown is not typically going to be 10K against the Minnesota Twins. He's not typically going to, and that's his DraftKings price. He's not typically going to be 10,500 on FanDuel, but on a slate like this, where it's smaller and the pitcher salaries kind of scale relative to the other pitchers who are available, you get these inflated price tags on a guy who, like Hunter Brown, comparing him to Nathan Eovaldi the other day, a very good pitcher, but just not a pitcher we typically see priced in this range. And the ownership is still there because who else are people going to click on? So Hunter Brown, I understand why he's popular. I'm going to be getting a little bit different there. The other piece of chalk that we have on the slate, and I'll start by talking about some of the DraftKings ownership, and they'll move over to the FanDuel ownership as well. George Kirby is projected for 31% ownership against the Yankees. Aaron Nola, 27% ownership against the Mets. So 2 other pitchers who are really popular, talented pitchers, but are in tough matchups. So George Kirby, Aaron Nola, that was their DraftKings ownership. And then on FanDuel, we've got Aaron Nola at 10%. George Kirby at 18%. So 2 talented pitchers in really tough matchups. What do you make of these guys who, also good pitchers? There's some upside there, but not ideal circumstances against the New York teams.
Yeah, it looks like I'm going to be underweight to the field on Aaron Nola, at least based on my first crunch. Not taking a hard stand there. If Fantasy Cruncher gave me a good amount of Aaron Nola, I wouldn't hate it, but it's a tough matchup with the Mets. The price is right at 9,100 for Nola. We do have some negative leverage in the top pitchers tool, which again is something that I don't, I can accept some negative leverage, not the end of the world there. But I'm not getting to a ton of Nola. I think I'm just going to be okay with that. Kirby, I am getting to more of. I'm actually getting to 33% of Kirby, which is right in line with the field. I'm also playing a good amount of the Yankees in lineups where I don't have Kirby. That's kind of one where I'm playing both sides of the game a good amount, but Kirby, certainly a talented pitcher, not the best Yankees lineup out there. So yeah, I'm getting to a good amount of Kirby, not getting to a ton of Nola, but honestly, if I ran another crunch and I was getting to above weight to the field on Nola, I wouldn't hate that either. I think he's got the talent. It's just a tough matchup, and he's a little bit boom bust.
He's probably the best overall pitcher on the slate, right? If we're just talking about the actual talent of the pitchers, he struggled a little bit to start the year, but this was a guy who's been a Cy Young contender the last couple of years. It's just also he's really popular, third most popular pitcher on DraftKings, and then also tough matchup on the road against the Mets. So I'll have some exposure to Nola, but also a guy that I'm going to be underweight to the field to, where I'm really looking, like I said, James Paxton is somebody that I'm going to be overweight to. Another one too, and this absolutely scares the shit out of me because this is another guy who's been absolute dog shit this year. Who do you think it is? I'm going to have you guess here that I could be playing, who you think I might have who I might think has upside, but has also been terrible this year. Cheap pitcher.
All right. Let's see who we have not talked about yet. I mean, Alek Manoah, 6,900.
Yes, sir. And once again, there's nothing you can look at for Manoah this year that's really all that redeeming in terms of his results.
Yeah.
But I'm still looking at a pitcher here who is really good, at least as of last year. And now it's certainly incorporated into the price. So no matter what you think about Aaron Nola Alek Manoah as a pitcher, he's now $6,900 on DraftKings. This implies he's a shitty pitcher, right? We don't need him to go out and be a guy who is, like a 3 ERA pitcher that he was a year ago. You just need him to go out and score like mid-teens fantasy points at this kind of price point, and you're feeling fairly decent about him. And the field is well off him at this point. He's projected for 17% ownership on a small slate. So Manoah is somebody else who I'm getting to. I don't feel great about it, but it's just hard to find ways to differentiate a pitcher. And when I'm looking, same kind of thing as James Paxton. Here's a pitcher who I know has upside. He's way underpriced. I'm going to be going to Manoah in large field tournaments and not feeling great about it. But this is one of the ways that I think is reasonable to differentiate my lineups.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a reasonable approach to take. I currently don't have any Manoah. I think I would probably have to adjust his projection to get some Manoah, which I think it's a case where it makes some sense to do so if you wanted to force some into your lineups. I'm only playing 24 lineups tonight. Like if I were 150 maxing, I would probably try to get to a little bit of Alek Manoah just on the off chance that he is due for some regression, that he's going to improve a little bit, but I'm not forcing it here. Despite the price tag and the name, I just don't, I'm not that concerned that he's going to put up 35 fantasy points and bury me. Could happen.
By the way, I'm not expecting 35 fantasy points.
Sure. As you said, you don't need it. You need teens to be okay.
I'm just hoping for a game where he does not suck, which has not happened this year. He sucks basically every time he goes out and pitches. And you look at his numbers, he can't throw strikes. He has a 5.53 ERA, a 6.42 expected ERA. The strikeout rate is down to 18%. I'm just looking for a serviceable outing for him. And then I'm hoping just a way that I could differentiate some of my lineups. Somebody else that I think you could look at in kind of a similar type vein is Carlos Carrasco. I lean a little bit more towards Manoah, but I think you make a similar kind of case for Carrasco. If you were playing one pitcher for cheap today, who is the guy that you would gravitate towards then?
It would probably be Manoah. Let me take a look at the top pitches tool though, just to see if if there's reason to think otherwise. Yeah, I mean we've got Carrasco at. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. One sec. Yeah, we've got Carrasco at 11%. So we actually do have some positive leverage on Carrasco. The matchups are, I don't know, Milwaukee and Philadelphia, like kind of similar to me. Am I wrong in that? Like I think they're both like fairly somewhat talented, kind of middling offenses. Yeah, I guess I would probably go Based on the top pitches, I'd probably go Carrasco just because he's 500 cheaper. We've got him with a 23.5% chance to be in the top 2 value pitcher. Manoah at 19.5. So it'd probably be Carrasco for me, but those two are pretty close.
Let's answer some of the super chats we have. If anybody's questions for us in Discord, at me, and we can answer those. And so answer the super chats. Check out Discord to see what questions people have. But starting with Ace of Spade, he wants to know what I like for DK tiers. So I'll look at the DK tiers lineups that I've built out, and already realizing that I fucked up because I built lineups ahead of the show for the early slate. So I'm just going to have to rerun this really quick.
I can tell you who Josh likes while you're doing that, while you're rerunning it.
Okay.
Because Josh posted his tiers picks for the day. So
yes, he did.
I'll start there, and we can see if you end up with similar players. So Josh in tier 1 has Rafael Devers with the best odds of being the top, 35% chance of being the top. Tier 2, Bryce Harper at 28%. Tier 3. You're ready to go? You're ready to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I've got it. Only take. I mean, it's tiers. It only it's only keeps the setting.
I was trying to buy you time.
All good.
You can go.
Yeah. So no, we'll go back and forth. You can read off what Josh has, and then I'll say what ended up coming up when I ran stuff here. So tier 2 was really close for me actually between Bryce Harper and Jonathan India. I'm gonna go towards Bryce Harper there in tier 1 though. So tier 1, for tier 2, tier 1, same page. Rafael Devers, I think he's the best option there. Tier 3, what did Josh have there?
Tier 3, Vlad Guerrero, 25.5% of the time.
So it is Yoshida for me for a couple of reasons. Number one, I view him as just being fairly close to Vlad, but anywhere I could get added correlation, right? Devers, I think, is the guy to go to in tier 1. So I'm going to go Yoshida in tier 3, get a little bit more correlation with our pick in tier 1.
Of course, Josh also does actually have a lot of correlation if you just take his top picks, because in tier 4, he has George Springer.
Okay. Tier 4 for me, Alex Verdugo. Now, with that said, if you're of the opinion you really want to play Vlad in tier 3, you could certainly go with George Springer or Bo Bichette in tier 4. But since we've got Devers as the tier 1 option, that's why I kind of like going with Yoshida in tier 3 and then Verdugo in tier 4. But you can do the same thing. You can make an alternate stack where you go Vlad with Bichette or Springer here. But I'm going to go Verdugo in tier 4. Tier 5.
Tier 5, actually, the correlation continues for Josh. He has Matt Chapman, number 1.
Same for me. And once again, you can make Red Sox stacks in here. You can make the Blue Jays stack. So I like Chapman there as well.
All right. And then tier 6, Christian Yelich.
Tier 6 for me. So I have a lot of players who are really close here. Christian Walker, Lourdes Gurriel, Christian Yelich. I'll go with Yelich and agree with Josh, but there's no real correlation here either. It doesn't match with the other tiers we have. I think Yelich is a fine option against Manoah, though.
Yep. Looks good.
All right. So Ace of Spade. Hopefully that helps you out with your tiers lineups there. The next question, El Negro Loco. We demand Greg do the rest of the show with the bucket hat and shades from the Twitter pic he posted. Sounds like somebody didn't watch our show the other day. I wore it and it went well. I got really good audience response, but I think that's only for special occasions and maybe even just that one time. I appreciate the super chat on Negro Loco, but we already did that bit. We did the bit on the show.
A bit maybe is something that continues, though, Greg, usually.
Maybe. We'll see. Corey Shea, super chat. Top batting stacks. Man, I suck at MLB DFS compared to NBA. Neil, if you were playing one lineup, can only stack one team today, per Corey's question, who would be that one team you would stack?
If I could stack just one team today... Good question. I'm playing a lot of the good stacks and terrible matchups, but if I were just playing one, I probably wouldn't go there. I'd probably be more likely to go to maybe back to Toronto against Julio Teheran.
So I've got my lineups being built now for just all the updated data. So the one thing I was missing when we started the show is the Colorado Rockies. We got the ownership in there and the updated lineup. So I've got this running right now. I could tell you my answer before was going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think it's probably still the Diamondbacks, but this is a rare slate where I think there's more leverage to be had at pitcher than there is at offense. So if I look at which stack I ended up getting to most predominantly, I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks for here. And it's one that I'm not going to be massively different on any stacks relative to the field today, because we don't have any of those teams where it's like, oh, this team is 5% owned as a team with 10% top stack odds. across the board, it's fairly the same. So the Diamondbacks are the team I'm going to get the most exposure to. So that's going to be my answer. But there's nothing I feel like yesterday I was rostering the Orioles like 1% ownership and felt really great about that. I don't really view anything similar like that on this slate.
Yeah, same. It was like we had the Blue Jays at 3% yesterday. This is a tough slate. Like it's just like the stacks look so even across the board. There's nobody standing out to me as like this is a stack that I love.
Let's see what we have next. This is from Chi-Town Sean, celebrating with fourth last night, snubbed on the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I saw that. I'm pretty sure it was Sean who tweeted at us yesterday.
It was.
Where, yeah, he was in, he's in third or second, and then had
a third.
Yeah, and then he got stack corrected down to fourth, but thank you for the shout out.
It was
Sean.
approach. I think it was BK Ryder who got stack corrected into third. It was like, that guy wins all the time. He doesn't need that money.
Yeah, it's bullshit. BK Ryder.
BK Ryder. I don't even know if that's who it was.
Let's Chi-Town Sean win one.
Let Chi-Town Sean have third, get in the Hall of Fame.
Either way, fourth, good stuff. Love to see it, Sean. Congrats. Then we've got a follow-up from Chi-Town Sean. Hit Neil and Adam this AM and wanted to get you as well, Greg. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate it.
$50 this AM.
Oh my God, Sean. You don't have to give away. You don't have to give us all your winnings.
Too much.
Yeah, keep some of it for yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you, though. Appreciate it. Maybe I'll get myself another bucket hat. So thank you guys for the super chats. And that is going to wrap up all the ones we have there. Going to check in our Discord channel to see if we have any questions that have come in. And here we've got Einsteinium. Einsteinium says, the Mets are getting slept on. Noel hasn't been throwing to first nearly as much this year, and his delivery has been rushed. Are the Mets a team that you are stacking up much today, Neil? I know you said that there are some teams, offenses that are in tougher matchups you're getting to. Are the Mets one of those teams you were referring to?
That is one of those teams. I'm playing 7 stacks today. The Mets are one of them. They look good in the top stacks tool. When I can't find anybody that I like who's like actually projected to do well, I'm going to go for some leverage here. We have the Mets with 3.7% projected stack ownership, 5.5% chance to be in the top stack, and 5.3% chance to be in the top value stack, plus Aaron Nola getting 27% ownership. So a little bit of leverage on all those lineups that have Nola. So yeah, I do have interest in the Mets. They're one of the 7 stacks I'm going to.
Malcolm Revamp left a super chat, wants to know FanDuel ownership for cash, please. Yeah, so let's look at the most popular pitchers. It's by far, if you're playing cash today, you're playing Hunter Brown, right? That goes for DraftKings and for FanDuel. Yep. FanDuel, it's even simpler because you only have to roster one pitcher. You know, DraftKings, I think, can get a little bit tricky trying to decide who you want your SP2 to be. For FanDuel, you're playing Hunter Brown at cash. He's projected for 32% ownership in large field GPP, so cash games, he's probably going to be, 60, 70% owned. Just go ahead and play Hunter Brown in cash games. And I think that's a really easy way to approach the slate, at least from that perspective over on FanDuel. Same for DraftKings. And then I guess we should mention this too, though, before we get to the other part of Malcolm Revamp's question. Who'd be your preferred SP2 for cash games on DK? That's really tough.
Somebody asked me and Adam that this morning. It was like, this is like one of the harder slates that I've seen for that particular question. I'm probably just sorting by ownership at that point and going to, but I don't know that I really want to go to George Kirby. Man, it is such a tough question.
There is a mosquito flying in front of me right now, and it is driving me crazy. I just tried to catch it. I don't know if anybody saw that.
You should just try to like kill it. You ever thought about just killing that mosquito?
Well, I'd have to like get up and leave because it's on the window right now.
Oh no. You gave me extra time, and I still don't know what the correct answer. It'd be clearly Hunter Brown, and then I'd probably, I guess, go with George Kirby, even with the tough matchup against the Yankees. I don't love playing pitchers against the Yankees in cash games, but I guess that's probably where I'd go. How about you?
I just go Hunter Brown and Nola for cash games. It's really tough. I think your options, just based on ownership, you're in between Nola and George Kirby as your SP2. And we just have more sample size on Nola being an elite type pitcher. So I'm going to go with Nola as the SP2. It's tough though. That was why I wanted to, bring it up as a question there. As for stacks, very simple on FanDuel. Load up on the Boston Red Sox. They're projected for insane ownership over on FanDuel. They're underpriced. So this is a team that looks much different on FanDuel than DraftKings as a stack. We have the Red Sox projected for 19.1% FanDuel ownership. Load up on the Red Sox, load up on the Toronto Blue Jays in cash games on FanDuel. Easy. Julio Teheran has been trashed for like 6 years. I do not have any reason to think he's going to be better this year. Luke Weaver also has been trashed for quite some time. The Red Sox are projected for a ton of ownership. So Malcolm revamp. Here's how you're building your FanDuel cash lineup. You are going with Hunter Brown as your pitcher, and then you're loading up on Yankees and Red Sox and Blue Jays bats. Anything else to add, Neil, or you're all good with that?
I mean, I was like, you don't have to stack. I mean, I think you know this, but like, because you're talking about stacking, you're getting to a lot of those bats, but like, you don't necessarily need to stack in cash games. In general, I'd say I would advise against trying to stack in cash games unless it makes sense, unless the players actually project really well and are getting some ownership.
Which is going to be the case on FanDuel today. It's like the Red Sox bats are so crazy popular.
Oftentimes it makes sense anyway.
Yeah. So I think you just want to load up on the Red Sox and the Blue Jays in cash games on FanDuel, and then Hunter Brown as your pitcher. And I think that is definitely the way to go there.
And actually, it just occurred to me, I had a conversation with Adam back when he was playing cash games, where he said he actually did see like he would prefer to stack over not stacking, and he made a really good point. And I can't remember what it was now, but he was saying like even in cash games he would prefer to stack a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what it was. I don't know what he said, but I could say with like 90% confidence this is what it was. When you get individual offenses that are in really good spots and are really popular, you are still going to capture, at least in theory, whatever. If you make a 5-man stack of a Coors Field game, or say, or like the Red Sox making a 4-man stack of them over on FanDuel today, you are in theory capturing all of the offense that they get. So if this team puts up 5-6 runs, you're capturing that offense and their production in your lineup. So that's something where it's going to apply to a slate like this, especially on FanDuel, where one stack is nearly 20% owned on FanDuel. The field is all going to gravitate towards those players. You're going to get just the popular Red Sox hitters like Devers, Yoshida. They're going to end up being like 30-40% owned in cash games.
Yep, that's a really good explanation. Yeah, so it does make sense, even though like I don't force it the same way I do in GPPs, but I'm not trying to avoid it either.
Okay, and now let's see what else we have for questions in Discord. The next one is from, let's see, Big Wall of Text. Just that one from Einsteinium. Yep, no other questions. Anybody else has questions for us, hit us up. But just wrapping a bow up on the pitchers here, Neil. Any pitchers we haven't talked about that you're getting exposure to or you want to bring up that you want to mention before we move on?
Yeah, so I mean, Clark Schmidt, I'm actually getting to a good amount of, despite, not the best matchup in the world against Seattle. I guess he's got more win equity because he is pitching for, although he's going to get up against George Kirby too, so maybe not even that. But I am getting to a good amount of Clark Schmidt. I think the price tag just makes it easy. I didn't do anything to get to more of him. He is getting to near my 50% cap. So I should mention I'm getting to a good amount of Clark Schmidt. I'm actually, so like even the pitchers, so both, it's true of both the bats and the pitchers. They're in tough spots. The pitchers I'm getting to a good amount of Louis Varland against the Astros. I'm getting to a good amount of Hunter Brown against the Twins, who are of course an elite offense. Clark Schmidt and George Kirby, both in, tough, somewhat tough matchups, at least. I guess James Paxton is going up against Cincinnati. So that's one pitcher I'm getting who's actually in like a good matchup. But then Carlos Carrasco, Aaron Nola, I'm getting to as well. So I think we've talked about basically all of the pitchers, but did want to throw it. I am getting to a good amount of Clark Schmidt and Louis Varland are the two that we haven't talked about much.
Yeah, Louis Varland does rate out fairly well in the top pitchers too. I have some exposure to him, not all that much. It's such a tough matchup on the road against Houston.
Yeah.
But so my preference is to go a little bit more towards Manoah or towards James Paxton. But yeah, I do think you can make a case for Clark Schmidt there for Louis Varland as well, just based on the low ownership and the size of the slate, but not a priority for me by any means. Let's go and check out the top projected plays in our Pick'em tool for PrizePicks today, because they are the sponsor of our show. As we mentioned, if you guys are building any sort of plays over a PrizePicks, whether it be a flex play or a power play, go include the free square. That is going to be over 0.5 points for Nikola Jokic tomorrow. That can't lose. That is going to win. So include that in any kind of line you make over at PrizePicks. But also, if you haven't checked it out yet, check out Pick'em Pro. We have a package available for less than $5 when you sign up for the first time using the link below. And we've got some people win some nice money using that. We've got the NBA Finals starting tomorrow. I want to shout out Dave DFS. Tweeted at us the other day, shouted out on the show yesterday, and I think it still holds pertinent today because we've got the NBA Finals approaching, and he used our Pick'em Pro tool to turn $100 into $2,500 over at PrizePicks. He made a 6-leg flex parlay, all 6 legs hit, $100 into $2,500. Good stuff by Dave DFS. And now we are going to look at the projections for baseball tonight to see what it is that we could find value in. So I'm refreshing to get the most up-to-date odds and most up-to-date projections. Does anything stand out to you for tonight on the baseball slate, Neil?
I do. I like the over on half of a base in total bases for Daniel Vogelbach. We have him at 2.1, so well over his projection or of the line of 0.5 total bases. Just needs one single to get over that number. So I'd say that's my favorite bet on the board.
All right, so Dan Vogelbach over 0.5. I'm going to go with somebody who we've talked about as a safe play just before, and that is Rafael Devers. Over 0.5, over 1.5 total bases. So you just need two singles, any extra base hit, and Devers is going to get there. The Red Sox, particularly on FanDuel, we were talking about them before, super popular team over on FanDuel today. Rafael Devers should be involved in the action. We have him as one of our top plays for PrizePicks today. 56% win rate on over 1.5 total bases. I like Devers tonight against Luke Weaver. So a couple of them there. Got Dan Vogelbach, just need one hit out of him, as per what Neil shouted out. And then for myself, I went with Rafael Devers over 1.5 total bases. And by the way, go combine that with the free square. Over 0.5 points for Nikola Jokic. I should have said to you. Do you like over or under 0.5 total points for Jokic?
I do think he gets there. I think he gets just, maybe 3 or 4 points.
And then we've also got in here, pretty astute point by Brandon Katz's dad. Vogelbach is actually Gundacker. They are built pretty similar. Gundacker is just considerably bigger than Vogelbach because have you seen the size of Gundacker?
I've seen some wrestling videos. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a big guy. That makes me even more confident in the over half of one base because a guy that size, he's going to get a single.
Yeah. Gundacker is like 7 feet tall. And I don't want to guess his weight because my answer would seem very.
But is he really that tall? He sits like Jordan Klein, like, kind of reclined in his chair. So he doesn't look that tall.
Yeah. So he doesn't, because his camera setup is so shitty. He looks like he's a lot smaller than he is. But yeah, if you watch videos of him wrestling, like no lie, if you were to guess, because I know Jordan's seen some of these videos as well. If I'm giving my honest guess on Gundacker's height, I'm going to say 6'7".
Damn. I have not noticed the height in the I've only seen a couple. And I also, I don't know that I've ever seen him been like, for sure, that's Gundacker. So, cause I think he wrestles with some similar looking dudes. So I have not noticed the height on Gundacker. Jordan Klein laughing at me. I mean, it's true though. Is it not true?
Wait, but Jordan, is 6'7", is that a fair guess for Gundacker's height? Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Because there was, I can't remember because I don't really know wrestlers that well, but I saw him next to a picture of a professional wrestler who I think I looked him up and he was 6'10", and Gundacker was about the same height as him, but Gundacker was a little wider. Gundacker is a gigantic fucking dude.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Just I'm saying, if he brings up the Yankees around, you just be like, yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to challenge him.
Yeah, you're right, Gundacker. No, you don't want to mess with Gundacker. So anyway, check out PrizePicks, and if you sign up, use our link, up to $100 bonus on your first deposit and 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All the data and tools that we have here, including the lineup generator, which, Jordan, if you could pull that up right here. Let's see now that we've got all the lineups out. We'll do the same thing that we've done the last couple of days when we do this, Neil. We'll build lineups for FanDuel, we'll build lineups for DraftKings, and we'll just highlight when we're running simulations using our lineup generator here, what ends up popping up as being the lineups and the players that we get to most frequently. So we got Jordan Klein pulling it up on screen because he knows what's up. You'll start with DraftKings. Let's all stack types. But since it's a 6-game slate, I want to make contrarian lineups.
All right. Good idea.
Yeah. Contrarian. I always do this because I'm an idiot. I try to click on it on my screen at the same time. Generating. Scroll down. Save. Discard. Save. Discard.
Peter Wysocki says Gundacker lives in Texas where things are big. Yeah, I'll say the food is very big in Texas. Every meal I had was like, damn, that's a big meal.
Yeah, telling you, Gundacker, big dude. All right, so we've got lineups in here right now. You see Hunter Brown popping up a ton. 70% of Hunter Brown at pitcher. Not really too surprising there. We got to Clark Schmidt a little bit as a secondary pitching option. Also, something that kind of makes me feel good because I was mentioning before when I was building my lineups, the team that I'm ultimately looking like I'm going to get the most of in terms of my stacks are the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kind of similar thoughts here in terms of some of the hitters are popping up here. You see Pavin Smith is popping up, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte. So yeah, it looks like we're getting to a lot of Diamondback stacks, and then pitchers, Hunter Brown. Keep scrolling down, Jordan. So we got to, let's see, Clark Schmidt. We got to James Paxton, also makes me feel good. So yeah, this is not all that different looking than some of my lineups, other than I'm going to be undercutting the field on Hunter Brown, but overweight to the field on James Paxton here as well. Anything else that you're noticing in terms of stacks or anything?
Yeah, I'm in a good amount of, looks like the Red Sox. At least we're getting to a lot of Rafael Devers, Jaron Duran. Maybe not as much as, clearly not as much as the Diamondbacks, but nothing really standing out to me except for we are getting a little bit flatter ownership outside of Hunter Brown. Like some sites you'll see a ton of certain players. We're not really seeing that on this slate quite as much. And maybe that's partially because we did contrarian lineups as well. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like pitching wise, we're getting to a lot of Hunter Brown, and then it's very, very flat after that. Getting to a lot of Clark Schmidt here, which makes me feel good. James Paxton, but like nobody else outside of Hunter Brown is getting anywhere near like 50% ownership. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, not like it's also one of those, there's not a whole lot of leverage to be found on this slate. So that's I'm going to be going, like I said, heavier on James Paxton. This kind of makes me feel better about that kind of stand. Let's go check out FanDuel now, Jordan. Let's see what it is that's popping up for us on FanDuel. And I'm interested to see, well, look at Jordan navigating the site here like a pro. I'm interested to see when we go build on FanDuel, if we build contrarian lineups, still do all stack types. Contrarian lineups for FanDuel. But I want to see what ends up looking different here. How much of guys like Red Sox stacks we're going to get to, because we know that they were picking up a ton of ownership on FanDuel. If we're building contrarian lineups, do we still end up getting to as many of the Red Sox here? And not a ton, it doesn't look like. We've got, oh, actually, never mind. We've got a bunch of Devers, but not really some of Yoshida. Still looks like predominantly, as I'm looking through this, looks like we're getting to mostly mostly Blue Jays and Diamondback stacks. Is that what it looks like to you as well, Neil?
Yep, I'm seeing a lot of just in terms of the players at the top. It's a lot of Blue Jays and Diamondbacks for sure.
Yeah, so Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, pitchers. So Hunter Brown, 31%. Then we got some Louis Varlin there. Keep scrolling down, Jordan. Yeah, so it looked like the FanDuel ended up spreading out the pitcher exposure a lot, which I don't mind for this slate. A little bit overweight there to James Paxton. Anything else that you're noticing here?
Yeah, not really. So do we have a full 20 lineups here, Jordan? I noticed you were discarding some, but maybe that's because you ran crunches early as well. Okay, so we only have 13 lineups. So what would you do? So if these are the lineups you came that you got here, Greg, would you then go back and say, like, if you look at the players at the top, so we have, you know, as you said, Blue Jays and I guess we've got a ton of Rafael Devers. Would you then go back and in choosing your other 7 lineups, do you think you'd be more inclined to choose lineups that don't have Rafael Devers since you already have a good amount?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's already a lot of exposure there to Devers. And just looking overall at the Red Sox ownership on FanDuel, it is a stack that I want to be underweight to the field too. And we're going to talk more about the stacks individually in a second. But yeah, Boston's a team I'm looking to short on FanDuel. Just, I mean, how often is there going to be a team on any slate where they're 20% owned and you want to be overweight to the field on them?
Yeah, exactly. X-Swaggy Pete says, holding first in the quarter jukebox early slate. He says, thanks, Neil. He said that he listened to the show. It's more Adam on the early show. I don't do a ton of analysis, but he says, literally first time playing MLB and just listening to Live Before Lock. That is awesome to hear, man. Congrats. Hopefully you hold it.
Yeah, so let's see. What is he sweating still? How much time's left there?
I think it's just the Dodgers game, maybe.
So, oh yeah, just the Dodgers-Nationals game left. So he's in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
All right.
Looking good.
Swaggy Pete, good luck. Good luck. We're nearing the home stretch. Just got 1 inning left to go. Hopefully you take first. And then you get into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Get yourself a free month. Add us if you end up winning there. Also, just to mention once again, we just ran through the lineup generator. Super cheap, guys. If you want to check it out, if you're trying MLB DFS for the first time, sign up using the link below. Get it for as cheap as $5. Really, really good value there. Is going to help you build some profitable lineups. And not really all that much input that you have to do yourself. You just click in some buttons like you saw. Even Jordan can do it, right? And Jordan hates baseball, right? There's nothing that makes Jordan less happy than the summer's approaching. He has to produce these baseball shows all day. But even Jordan's able to figure out how to build lineups there. Something else, too, is if you guys want to use the MLB lineup generator just to find out some of our top projected core plays, that's a good use for it as well. But let's look at the stacks now, Neil. And Has anything changed for you over the course of the show as we talk about the stacks? Any teams you're getting to more predominantly than others?
So I haven't, on these baseball shows, I actually don't run more crunches like I do on NBA shows frequently as we get closer. So nothing has changed because I haven't run any more stacks. But I just refreshed the top stacks tool, and it doesn't look like anything has changed so drastically that I would probably change my approach. I might consider playing Milwaukee. I don't think Milwaukee made it in as one of my 7 teams. That's a team that looks pretty good in the top stacks tool, to the point where I'm like, yeah, maybe if I redid it, I would include them as one of my stacks. But I'm not going to go back and change that. So yeah, nothing has really changed for me as lineups have come out. How about you?
So I mean, there's been like ancillary stuff that's changed. Like the Yankees are starting Higashioka at catcher when we didn't have him projected as the catcher, so I had to rerun lineups for that. And then we like Nolan Jones in the middle of the Rockies lineup. But nothing really has changed too much for me. The team I'm getting the most exposure to is still the Diamondbacks, and I'm not going to really be changing that based on anything. Is that a team that you ended up getting exposure to in any kind of significant way?
You say the Diamondbacks?
Yes.
Yes, the Diamondbacks were one of the 7 teams that I chose to have as primary stacks, and I'm also getting to a good amount, I think, of like Diamondbacks as secondary stacks, one-offs, that kind of stuff. So they're probably my second, maybe highest owned team overall after the Red Sox, or maybe third after the Blue Jays.
As you look through some of the lineups you have with Diamondbacks players in them, have you noticed any players that are propping up more predominantly in terms of you're getting more exposure to them than other hitters?
Yeah, I mean, Corbin Carroll, I'm getting more than anybody else. He is in the 3 hole. I'm getting to 29% Corbin Carroll, which is, I think I set my cap at 30% on bats. So that's as much as you can possibly get of anybody. He's 5,200, but he just projects really well for us today. So yeah, he's the top, and then followed by Kettle Marte, Pavin Smith, Jake. I'm actually getting to a good amount of Jake McCarthy in the 8 hole, which, you know, I don't hate. He's not going to get a ton of ownership. What do we have him at? I guess 11%, not nothing there, but fairly low owned. And then I'm getting to some, actually, Gabriel Moreno in the 7 hole as well. So yeah, kind of spread out there with my Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it looks to me like kind of the same, a little bit spread out. Corbin Carroll is actually the hitter I have the most exposure to right now. And yep, no issues with that as I look through my Diamondbacks lineups. Are there any super low owned stacks that you found yourself being like, oh, that's a team you think in large field tournaments is just going overlooked?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about those good teams in bad matchups. I'm playing a good amount of them. So like the Yankees are coming in at just 3.3% projected ownership, 6.2% chance to be the top value stack, 3.8% chance to be the top stack overall. I am playing the Yankees as one of the stacks I'm going to today. Similarly, I'm going to the Mets against Nola. Again, in both of these spots, it's just tough matchups, but the pitchers also getting ownership. So if the bats can get to the pitchers early, get to the bullpen, you're also knocking off a good amount of the field who played those pitchers. So I'd say those are the 2 that really stand out as stacks that I'm getting to a good amount over the field.
Yeah, and we've got somebody in chat right here. This is Arcathelza. Arcathelza back, technically, because Arcathelza lost his initial YouTube account. By the way, Arcathelza was messaging me for a little bit. He was trying to get his, we don't know what happened. Somehow his account got banned, but it wasn't our end. It just never happened. Jordan put a lot of legwork into this, trying to get Arcathelza's original account back. We couldn't find him. So we've got Arcathelza's back now. He does bring up a point that nobody wants to play Carrasco, but they also don't want to play the Phillies. Yeah, I think that is a pretty interesting point, is that this is a small slate. Something kind of has to give, right? It's not like Carrasco is going to suck and the Phillies are going to suck. If you had to build one lineup, you were playing one side of that, Neil, either Carrasco or stacking against Carrasco, which would be your preferred side to play?
So I will say that we have the Phillies at 9.5% projected ownership. So it's not like they're going completely overlooked here. I did not make any primary stacks with the Phillies as my primary team. I did get to a few Carrasco lineups. So I guess I would say Carrasco. I don't feel strongly about that. I think they're actually kind of similar plays, like tough matchup. Both certainly have the ability to get there. I'll go Carrasco because I actually played some Carrasco, but I think they're very, very similar plays to me. How do you feel about it?
I'm looking through my lineups right now, and let's see, Carrasco. And I assume this is what my final exposure is going to be now that we have all the lineups in. Carrasco, I have in... Yeah, I played hardly any Carrasco. So it's going to be hard for me to advocate for Carrasco. As far as Phillies bats, I have some of them as one-offs, but it's not a team I'm stacking all that often either. So to Argadel's point, yeah, I understand that, but I'm not playing a lot of Carrasco, and I'm not stacking against him a whole bunch either. There's other stacks I like and other pitchers that I got to for cheap. Like I'm playing, a little bit over 20% of Alek Manoah, and hopefully he doesn't totally show up like dog shit, which is possible based on how he's pitched the entire year. But not really how I'm looking to differentiate my lineups. The one that's for me, the biggest stand that I have made is I'm playing so much James Paxton. Brought it up at the top of the show. Now that my lineups are finalized, he's in more than half my lineups. That's where I'm being different. I'm playing a whole bunch of Paxton. As for some of the other stacks that are showing up predominantly for me, number one for me is the Diamondbacks. The team I have the second most exposure to tonight is the Seattle Mariners against Clark Schmidt. Schmidt's fairly popular today, and I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's great either. And when you have an opportunity to roster against a pitcher on a 6-game slate who's not particularly good, but it's also picking up ownership, because last I looked, we had, Clark Schmidt is now at mid-20s ownership, 24%. I think that he's somebody there's leverage just in stacking against him based on the amount of ownership going to him on the road. Not really a particularly great pitcher. Like the other pitchers are picking up comparable ownership to Clark Schmidt. It is Aaron Nola, it's George Kirby. Those are pitchers who are just better than Clark Schmidt. So I'm going to be targeting him a little bit, but it's primarily because of the ownership going on him and how I think it's a little bit high. So does that make sense to you? Are the Mariners a team that you like?
So I didn't play the Mariners, but it does make sense to me. I actually had to look. I was like, yeah, I feel like I had the same thought that maybe I should play the Mariners, and then just didn't end up putting them in there. But we do have some positive leverage in the top stacks tool as well, in the different usage of the term leverage, but we actually have them a little bit under-owned in the top stacks tool. Plus, as you said, there's leverage on the opposing pitcher. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and by the way, that's one of the ways that I'll often look at leverage is a pitcher overowned, stacking against them can make some sense. Is an offense overowned, rostering a pitcher against them can make sense. The problem is with the pitchers against the opposing hitters, sometimes it could be really difficult, because a lot of times the reason that a stack is really popular is because you're going up against a pitcher who totally sucks. So like Luke Weaver isn't somebody I want to play today, right? Yeah. Like that's not something I really want to go down, but I could definitely make a case for stacking the Seattle Mariners going up against Clark Schmidt and the Yankees. Now, let me just double check our Discord to make sure there aren't any questions that are outstanding for us. Because if not, we have pretty much run through the slate here, Neil. Let's see. Yep, we're all good on questions in Discord. Looks like in the YouTube chat, everything is all good there. Do you have any final thoughts on the slate? Anything we have not covered yet, Neil?
I mean, Big Bino says, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the Reds light Paxton's ass on fire tonight. So there is that. I only have 17% Paxton, so it wouldn't be the end of the world for me. I don't have much of the Reds bats, other than I do have some Reds as I do have some. Did I put them as, maybe they are one of the 7 stacks I went to? They are actually one of the 7 stacks that I went to. So I'm all for it. Light his ass on fire.
Yep. Hey, I mean, it's not like I'm fading the Reds. I'm just way higher on the Paxton side. Like if Paxton gets blown up today, I'm very reliant on just having a lineup that sneaks through in like the top 10 of a tournament in order to turn a profit today, because I'm going to be overweight to Paxton. That is the biggest stand that I'm going to be taking. Eric Johnson wants to know, where is the flannel shirt for Neil? I think I know what Neil's going to say. A little hot for flannel this time of year.
It's like 86 right now. So yeah, I'm not wearing flannel in 86 degrees. Sorry to disappoint you.
It is 74 here for me, and I'm fairly hot in a t-shirt. So I understand why you wouldn't want to wear a flannel. But that is going to do it for us today, guys. If you have not done it yet, do us a big favor. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're signing up over at PrizePicks, use the link we have below, up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit and 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. So, guys, that is going to do it for us. Thank you very much for watching. Check you back here tomorrow. Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Peace out.